I know. Yeah.
Howie said he was going to try and log on. He asked me how you signed up for the link. I said, I don't think you sign up for the link. I think you just
go to YouTube.
Oh, we told him to go to the district website. No? I had my big fire drill training today.
Yeah, how'd that go?
I'll be all right once I practice it. I like directions that say you do this, this, and this, and the guy said, well, can you read? Well, yeah, I can read, but it doesn't say step 1, step 2. It'll be fine.
Did the guy really say?
What's that?
Did the guy really say?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I almost wish I would have been there.
Yeah, well, I'm probably watchers. I'm sure it'll be the same guy that was training you. So then we went.
1,000 times smarter.
It took about an hour, and then I said, because of those pool stations, you have to unlock them and reset them. So he said, I said, how do I know? Like on the screen, does it show the building layout? He said, no, it just tells you a code for the pool station. So he's like, right, the pool station. Which is, like I said, first floor by the elevator. So I went down and found it. It's pretty neat. Is there one in here?
I was really struggling. It was a great meeting, but
I don't know, there's a poll station.
Well, it's pretty neat.
Hey, don't call us.
Go to find it. Wow, they comes out the bottom. And the word activate shows up behind it. So you know that you found the right one. So
Pretty good.
it's not water.
Yeah, you guys know how to tackle. I get hold of it. Now, there were more. There's a couple other teams that have it too that I watched where they
There's
see some
alarm is activated. So in case there is a fire, it does the pole, so it's not through the building. So I thought it was pretty good. I think,
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
well, I think it is.
So I said, I go, this isn't good. I didn't think they would, when they jumped onto that lead, I was like, I thought they was gonna get beat, because you don't have time to do anything, it's just gonna be the same old thing. They're trying to recruit, they're trying to do other stuff, it's like, you can't change anything, so it's like, people are thinking, oh, look, all this is a team. Nothing, it's because we don't have time. You know, it's like you're watching film days, and we're really getting into field practice, and we have so many practices. You can't change a whole year, you just gotta go with what you got and throw it in there. Maybe their defense was terrible.
I think it's better than that.
They did. Yeah, for the team, I don't think. Defense was terrible. I watched the first, I watched all the games.
Yeah, you guys found out.
They had several, but their linebackers was terrible. They can't tackle at all. And so one time they flipped and they make bounce out. Yeah, they were, that was like their third linebacker. Secondary, same thing. Get out to them, put it on there and safety play. That's going to be the new one. These guys. Yeah, half the people don't play that. I decided, I'm like, they should have to declare like the last game of the season. They need to say I play every game. That's going to be the money coming out. Especially because it's like Texas A&M.
last year we did well, 50-50 split.
It's going to happen because that's what's happening.
Yeah, they do a couple of them around. You gotta check it out.
Same general area, but it might not be the same spot.
I had to look too.
I did run into
Oh, it's all yours. We all had to move that. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Hey, how old are you?
You might have one in the bag though.
Do you need an updated copy?
You guys ready? I'll go live. live with the mic?
But I'd ask that we do a little more than what we are doing, and whatever that is, I don't want to say somebody's not doing their job. I just think we need to do a better job of that. Number two, I had some concerns with the athletics department. Mr. Claypool and Mr. Hendricks did a very nice job, in my opinion. Am I happy with some of the results? No, but that's why I come to you folks. So you have some serious issues that I think you need to address as a board. I'm not going to bring it up here. I'm going to do it through the proper channels because that's what I was asked to do. But I'm asking you as a parent, and you're representing the Sayre School District students, to do what's right, okay? And that's going to come to fruition here soon. So I'm asking you, please, you have a thankless job. I don't want it. That's why I didn't run for it. But I'm asking you, please, if you're on this board, to take some hard, serious looks at some things. And the third thing is, geez, don't ever get old. What's the third thing I was supposed to do? Maybe help me out. Glory be to God. Well, if I remember, I'll let you know. There's something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Oh, yes, thank you. COVID. Listen, that's a whole nother, I owe you big time, yes, sir. COVID. I know it's rampant where I work, we know all about it, but there is such things as sinus infections, allergies, and every minute putting young kids, like, are you sick? Did you do this? Did you that? There are some parents that are smart enough to know if their child is sick. We're not gonna send them to school, but for a 7th grader, 8th grader, 9th grader to be put on the spot every minute, oh, you're sick? Come on, we have to be reasonable. I know it's out there, but we also have to be reasonable thinkers. We can't just say because someone coughs, they have COVID. Okay, so please, I don't know who it's addressed to overall, but we have to think about that, all right? And I'm sure in your district, in your building, kids cough all day long, don't they?
Depends.
Yeah, so thank you all and welcome, or thank you for the new year. Hopefully it goes well for you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? So, yeah, so we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to do a consent agenda, which means the board as a whole is going to approve the whole agenda. So what we're going to do is go through sections 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to ask the board to make a motion to approve that and second it, and then we'll discuss it. And then we'll vote by roll call. We'll vote by roll call in case any board members need to abstain or they want to vote no to any part of it. We'll discuss it, and then at the end, we'll discuss section 5, which are discussion points, which has to do tonight with COVID, so maybe that'll answer some of Mr. Shaw's questions. And then we'll have our reports as normal. So with that, I'd like to recommend the board approve the agenda, sections 1 through 4.
Do we have a 4? I don't have a 4.
Well, it went from 1 to, yeah, I thought maybe there was a missed policy review is 4. That's what I would think. I think I got it.
No, finance begins for actually finance operations. Will be
Oh,
finance,
operations.
personnel, policy,
Yeah.
yes.
Finance begins
So it
4.
got cut off. That's correct. It's called operations under our policy, under it, it got cut off.
I want a motion.
That's correct.
to approve, yeah.
So moved. I make a motion.
So I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second, any discussion?
Help me put on the
So I have a motion and a second, no discussion. So can we have a roll call, please, Mrs.
That's a
Jacob?
page.
Begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Excuse me, what are we doing?
So we're voting on the whole agenda as a
Oh,
whole,
yeah, I know, but what numbers I think?
section 1 through 4.
Some of the copies are short a page. Yeah, Andrew has the right one.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go make some new ones?
You was 5 on mine.
They have, but 4 starts with finance.
I have the new ones.
Should
It's
be
operations.
Athletics and recreation is missing.
Oh, we're missing a page. Okay,
Volunteers, vehicle.
we'll pause for a quick second so we can get this 4th page. Apologize for that.
Good help's hard to find.
Yes, it is.
Hey, can you-
Reach out to Mr. Bunker and see if he'll turn that off. We'll have one of these guys turn the. That's what I just asked Mr. Claypool. I had asked that after the last meeting.
I gave mine.
In here. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The agenda on the Google Docs would be up to date, right? So
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you should be good, yep. So if everybody wants to, while we're waiting, we can move ahead with reports, so
Discussions, yeah, if there was any discussion.
we'll start with reports. Mrs. Agnew, you want to start with the last report?
Oh, okay. No, actually, I don't have anything to report right now because the holiday.
They haven't had anything.
So, yeah, so I have nothing. Thank you.
All right. NTCC report, Mr. Cole.
All right, Mr. Quattrini, we met back in November, and I just want to let everyone know that 46% of the students down at the Career Center all received student recognitions for the first quarter of the year. And we had 14 students in SARE that also received the student recognitions, including 4. There's 4. Jade Fairley, also Cole Delbotis, I believe I hope I pronounced Cole's name correctly, Joseph Quattrini and Glenn Romberger, Those 4 students down there achieved the highest GPA in their class down there. So that is quite an accomplishment there. Also, we want to say thank you to PS Bank and their Educational Improvement Tax Credit Program. They announced that they gave $78,000 in scholarship funding to right around 250 students down there. So this is, I think, their 3rd year that they've done that. And also, I want to make mention too that 58 students had perfect attendance down there at the center in the first quarter. So again, some good numbers starting to come up from North Towanda. And also, I want to make mention, anybody that's down around the Towanda area, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m., you can go in and have lunch at the Blue Fountain down there. Those kids do a great job. They're good cooks, and like I said, you won't go away hungry, let me tell you. So, and that's everything I got from Northern Tier Career Center.
All right. You want to continue with PSBA, sir?
Sure. And just want to make mention that January is School Director Recognition Month. And one of the things I'm going to ask the board at the next meeting is if we can adopt the principles for governance and leadership at our next meeting. We do that every year, and it's, like I said, it really shows that we're working together as a team to make sure that our students and everything is taken care of here in the district. Also, a quick note, the Pennsylvania Success Starts Here. If you've not been out there on it, I invite you to go out on there. It's updated with our new board members over there, so if you want to go down and check your names, and you can see them out there. They're out for the whole state to see. Plus, if you go into the Pennsylvania Success Starts Here website, and you go to November 9th, you'll see our story on Fallen into Fun that we had out at the Litchfield Sacred Creek Environmental Center. A little story, and we've got a picture out there on that as well. Also, I want to make mention too, I'd like to sometime here in the near future go out, and if you haven't been out on the Pennsylvania Success Starts Here website, I'd like to do like a little workshop out there. I won't do the talking. I hope Dr. Delosio will do the talking there, so it'll be short and sweet. But I'll be your standby. So, but also I want to make a quick mention too that the PSBA is talking with 18 other states. Their school associations that are out there about forming a consortium after withdrawing from the National School Board Association. They're going to be into discussions with that starting probably mid-month, and then we'll find out more about that. So we'll find out what it will contain, and give you most of the goods as they come available. And I think that's everything I have from PSBA's reading.
All right, Mr. Cole, thank you very much. The only thing I have is I'd first like to wish everybody a happy new year. Let's hope that 2022 is better than 2021. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Lyons, Mrs. Kyer, and Mrs. Cole for all of their many years of service. They're all great ladies. They're all great educators.
That would be a great page to lose. Can that be the page that's?
Yeah, right, that should have been the page we missed instead of athletics, but
yes.
Yeah, they're all great ladies, and they'll be missed, and I hope they enjoy their retirement, and I'm jealous. So,
That's a lot of years of knowledge.
a lot of years of knowledge, yep, Mrs. Agnew, absolutely, so.
And they worked tirelessly. They really did great jobs and embraced new initiatives and things that came, and did it with encouragement along with their kids, and always wanted their kids to be the best that they can be. I can speak from a mom on some of those levels too as well. So it will be very hard.
They pushed
Yes.
my kids to be the best that they could be. So,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely.
As well as Mrs. Cole. I'm speaking on behalf of her as a parent as well. So it will be very difficult to fill
Those
shoes, but we
shoes,
obviously
okay.
wish them well in their future endeavors.
Vice versa, I think, like I said, these board teachers that are leaving us, like I said, outstanding jobs that they've done throughout the years. Speak on behalf, most of them had my children in school, and again, thank you. Thank you for support, greatly. Their job and their service to the school.
Absolutely. That's all I have.
My turn?
Dr. Lewis, your turn. I mean, what's Mr. Hendrick doing? Did he run all the way down to the basement to make those copies?
He may have, and he might have to warm the machine up. It takes 5 minutes once it's shut down, so. Might take a little extra
Does
time.
anybody have the page? Because there's a copier right back there.
Right.
Well, copies are quick.
I think Mr. Dick has it.
There you go, Mr. Claypool. Sure. So as Mr. Claypool's doing that, I'll share my information. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Would you like me to wait, or shall I go ahead
Go
and
ahead.
continue? Okay. So as Mr. Handrick is handing out the agenda, I will share my board report. I have several items. I wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Vaughn and Mrs. Gillette for putting on a wonderful holiday concert in December. I thoroughly enjoyed that evening, listening to the junior high bands and the choral groups and the high school band and choral group. They did a phenomenal job under the direction of those two ladies. They do a great job, and I appreciate them. I wanted to share with the community that a new year, Happy New Year to all, a new year always brings new ideas. And one of the ideas that I'm going to start is I'm going to hold a parent advisory committee. And so on the fourth Wednesday of the month, I'm going to be available to meet with parents, and some parents I've already spoken to and are going to join, just come. And it's about collaboration and having conversation about what's happening in our school community, as well as what resources might be needed for our student body to improve our system as a whole, and I want to hear from the parents. So I have a Sayer Snapshot Redskin review ready to go out, and that information is going to be on there for parents to reach back to me and say, I'd like to be a part of that committee, and come and have open discussion. The third thing I have is board committees. I want to share with the community that board committees are open. You do not have to be a member of a committee to join those committee meetings. Like the board meeting, those committee meetings are open to the public, and they're on our website, so people are welcome to attend those committees. I have our public relations specialist working on a document that will describe each committee and have the dates, the times, and the location of all of those meetings for the entire year of 2022, so that parents can, community members can be informed and attend those meetings that are available. I'm going to second and third what Mr. Cotrini and Mrs. Morrell shared about our 4 retirees that are on our agenda this evening. You know, I've only been here for 2.5 short years at this point in time, and I find Mrs. Cole to have a wonderful demeanor with her first graders, and her knowledge and experience is going to be greatly missed. I remember my first time meeting Lucy Lyons, and her energy that she brings to the building on a daily basis is contagious, and that's going to be greatly missed. Vicki Kyer, as she retires, you know, just last year, she came forward with an initiative that our students needed a new social studies curriculum at the elementary level, because the current curriculum was decades old. So even in the year before she retired, she was working tirelessly in the summer, looking for and vetting a variety of companies and bringing them forward to me as the superintendent. And I very much appreciate her time and effort in doing that, and the board's support in providing the students with that social studies curriculum. And then Mary Cole, right? I know her to be connected to students, having built relationships with them, and she has an energy about our system and wanting to do well. So I know all 4 of those ladies are going to have, you know, whether it's a great second career or just fun in their retirement, but I know they'll still stay connected to Sayer, and I appreciate each one of them.
That's the reason that page was missing. I was hoping nobody would notice, so that Mrs. Cole wasn't on there. Tonight's agenda.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Yes.
I said that
So
while you were
each
gone
one
as
of them
well.
are a valued member of our school community, and they will have left a legacy that will last a lifetime and leave marks on, you know, our system as a whole, and they've improved it along their way. And so I thank them for their dedication and commitment to our school community. So my report this evening.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Delozio.
You're welcome.
All right, so now we have the missing page to this agenda. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on any of these new parts that we see?
Which one are we covering, Mr. Secretary?
Roman numerals 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I am bringing forward a recommendation to the board. Dr. Tricia Tejan, current title is as the director of our special education department. Tricia oversees not just special ed, but a lot of regular ed programming. She oversees our 504, which is regular ed, gifted support, which is regular ed, ESL. So it's a director of student services. There's no monetary change. It's the title that needs to be corrected for what she does because she wears multiple hats in our district. And so she oversees the student services for all of our students and not just those in the special education realm. Okay? Thank you for asking. I wanted to explain that.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Dr. DeMozio, on the volunteers, this would be for the entire school year. It would be like a blanket coverage?
That's correct. So those parent volunteers, if they want to volunteer with something specific to sports, or they want to do Candy Cane Lane, or they want to volunteer in our library, they are available to do that. Thank you.
A couple of those are musical people too.
Music as well. Thank you. So they can volunteer in any capacity once they're approved by our board.
Okay.
We're gonna have to change the date of the athletics meeting. We're not gonna have it on February 14th. I don't know who scheduled that.
Do you have a date that you're changing it to?
Maybe the next day, but certainly not February 14th.
You don't think your wife would appreciate you having a meeting on Valentine's Day?
My wife probably would.
She'd be happy. That's why.
I would suggest we change it to 15th. And at 5:30, not 6:30.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. We'll see if we can fix that for you.
Also on the building and grounds committee, that is that the right time, 7:30?
That is. So there's a meeting scheduled at 5:30, 6:30, and 7:30 that day. That's correct.
All right.
Is that the recommendation of the board? To change those dates?
I'd recommend if we're changing any from
We'll
the
change them
14th, that we change them all.
I would change them all.
But I'm not a board member, so I really can't make a recommendation.
Do we have any,
Good recommendation.
Dr. Jill, do you know if we have conflicts with the 15th?
I didn't see any on the calendar.
So we should be good, right?
I didn't.
If the team is okay with that, I'll move the 14th meetings to the 15th. So that is finance at 5:30, athletics at 6:30, and building and grounds at 7:30.
So athletics is gonna be 6:30?
Yes,
Because finance is at 5:30?
that's correct.
What's the finance?
That's correct, but if there's also
February.
February, there's a January and February.
It does,
That's correct.
okay.
That's correct.
Okay, I got you.
So, Mr. Shaw, you'd like to make a motion to change it to the 15th?
I would. Motion, please.
That's information, so it's okay. It's information, so I can go ahead and make that change. Not a vote.
All right. So we'll make those corrections. Any other discussion? So take over and get a roll call, please.
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew. Yes, except I see 4C1. Thank you. Ms. Alsey?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Riley? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpa?
Yes.
Mr. Katrina?
Yes. Now I guess we'll move to our discussion part of the agenda, and first part of it is COVID.
COVID, that's correct. So
Mr. Katrina,
Yes, sir.
I would like to request that we have a quick executive session before we do discussion
About,
about the issue that Mr. Shaw brought up earlier.
about students?
Yes.
We'll have to wait. Mr. Shaw, that's not an executive meeting kind of thing, so we have to wait until admin gets a chance to figure it all out.
I still would like to have an exec session, so.
What would it fall under?
Right.
So it has to, for an exec session to happen, Mr. Shaw, it's gotta be, legal, property, or personnel.
I would think it would be under personnel.
Under personnel?
Yes.
Okay. We'd like to have a quick 15 minutes,
Not 5,
5 minute?
less than 5.
All right. So we have a request for a quick 5-minute exec session, so can we all meet in that,
We can go in that room, right?
is that room open?
Andrew?
All right. All right, folks, thank you about that. So we'll be back in regular session. So moving on to our COVID discussion. Everything's done?
Just to make sure I,
Done?
okay, we're good? So COVID, I wanted to update the school community on some information that we had received from the CDC in our safety and health plan. States that will refer to the CDC and follow those recommendations. They have reduced the quarantine time down to 5 days, and so we have sent letters to families to let them know that yesterday. And then close contacts as well has been reduced to 5 days. On the heels of that came information from the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and I sent out a second communication late today because I didn't want to overwhelm families with 2 communications the same day about 2 different kinds of programs. So there's a reduction in the quarantine recommendation to 5 days at this point in time. Coming forward then is a test to stay program for close contacts. So yesterday I applied with PDE/Concentric by Ginkgo, which offers the test to stay program. It takes about a 2-week time frame to turn around. So I am hoping that the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day that we'll be up and running with that company with the test to stay program. The test to stay program may only happen with parent written permission. So I would have to have parent written permission for a student to be able to test and stay with a rapid antigen test. How that happens is that if your student is identified as a close contact, we would reach out to the family, verify that we have your permission on hand. We would send those ahead of time. The company has all those documents ready to go once we're approved. And we would send them home and have permission on file, confirm that. And then what happens is there's 2 tests that occur within a period of time. So once a student is identified as a close contact and the parent gives us written permission, they also must agree that their student will stay on property with a mask for the 10 days. So the date of close contact is considered day 0, and the first day of what would be considered quarantine is the next day. So, Mrs. Agnew, may I use you as an example? Sure. Okay, so if Mrs. Agnew and I are sitting together for more than 15 minutes, less than 6 feet, unmasked, and this would be considered unmasked because she has one on and I don't. So I would be considered a close contact to her, right? So if that's the case, and my parent would agree that I could be in the test to stay program, I would then have to wear a mask for the next 10 days or from the date of my first day of the 10-day period. Because sometimes you're not identified as a close contact until day 3, 4, or 5. And that just hinges on the time of day, symptoms start, and then when you're tested and when you get results. Because you don't identify close contacts until you have a positive result from a test, okay? So once identified, a student can be tested on day 2, 3, or 4, one time. It can be any time during the school day. Our nursing staff would be the ones that would have to be giving the test. The results would be if the results are negative, the student would return to class. If the results are positive, the parent would be called and the student would have a positive test result and need to go home and finish out quarantine in that direction. If it's negative, they return to class and they continue to move forward. Then they can be tested a second time. They have to have 2 negative tests within that period, right? 5, 6, and 7. Okay? The days cannot be consecutive. So if the first round of testing happens to be on day 4, the student may not be tested on day 5. They'd have to wait till day 6 or day 7. Okay? But they'd be able to go throughout the maneuver throughout their day with a mask on while here at school for those 10 days. If they test negative on day 5, 6, or 7, they must still wear their mask through day 10. Okay? So there are 3 components. Must have written permission by the parent, must consent to wearing a mask for the 10 days of the quarantine while on property here at school, and must consent to 2 tests during that period of time. Now, yes, Mr. Skirple.
Be asymptomatic, correct?
That is correct, and asymptomatic. So if you start to have symptoms, you would fall into a different category. So we're talking about asymptomatic students that are identified as close contacts. Okay?
They're also, this also doesn't include vaccinated.
That is correct. So students that are vaccinated and are asymptomatic already can stay on property with mask on, right?
Does this include staff also?
It does. But I will not need written permission by your parents. I just wanted to lighten it up a little bit because this is heavy. This is where I was surprised I remember all of those components from yesterday, right? So we received all of this information yesterday and had a meeting and put it all down. We were able to produce those flow charts and send those out yesterday. We did little updates for a little more clarification and resent those out today. And then at the end of the day, I just did an informational email to families about the Test to Stay program, that it is coming, and as more information is received, we will put it in writing and send it out to families to keep them aware of it. So does anybody have any questions about the shortened quarantine time, any discussion or information you want to share, or the Test to Stay program?
I know it's tough to I mean, as a parent who's, well, one child seems to be caught in the crosshairs more than the other one, but you know, I think when, you know, my one student, and some of the confusion and frustration I share with some other parents is, you know, it was a 3 feet distance, and then we got rid of the mask, and then it became a 6 foot distance, no longer a 3 foot, and I think there was some confusion there, because personally, I was still under the impression it was a 3 foot distance, not a 6 foot, like I missed that part, you know, and there's just so much information constantly. I wish there was just a quick 10 little bullet point kind of easy, but there isn't, you know what I mean? But
and we did try to put a easy to follow flow chart, and you could see yesterday that became a 1-page memo and 2 pages of a flow chart to try to follow through, because we want to provide all the information, and it does change. This has changed, I can't even say how many times since this started in the spring of 20.
I also have another question. The nurse that's already super stressed is going to be doing this all by herself, or will we have somebody?
A member of the nursing staff would have to be the one to provide the test. That is correct. And we are looking at putting supports in place for other avenues for that component. So we have had that discussion.
yeah, does it have to
And
be-
we still have those jobs posted for LPNs, part-time LPNs. So if anyone is looking for a period of time to work through the day, that, you know, we'd be happy to have.
Does it have to be
Those
tested
two are
on?
not
I'm
filled
sorry.
at the high school?
There's one position filled, and we're sharing it between both buildings. So we posted.
Between Snyder and high
That's
school?
correct. We had and have 4 LPN part-time positions available, and 1 is filled, so we still have room to fill 3. Okay? And so that individual that is the 1 LPN, we've reassigned to both buildings to share, to help and support both nurses.
I have another question about testing.
Sure.
Who pays for the test?
It's being provided from PDE through Ginkgo. They have a contract with them. It's at no cost to the district to do the Test to Stay program. Thank you for asking that.
If a parent decides to test at home or test at the hospital, can they do that within that same window, or does it have to be here at the school?
You know, that question hasn't been asked, and I don't know that that's on the frequently asked questions, so before I give you an answer, I will look for that and provide an answer. Okay.
I mean, I know I think it's $14, I think, was the cheapest at-home test kit, but
Right, if you can find them.
if you can find it.
And sometimes they're limiting the number that you can purchase.
Walgreens and Elmira has Buy Next Now.
You get 2 in the morning.
You get
CVS
2
and
of them.
Sarah House,
Right,
I think.
right.
And Sam's Club was the best availability.
Sam's Club, did you
Sam's
say?
Club? Really?
Last week, they were out of them.
Oh, good. Of course. Mr. Shaw.
So I'm listening to her say about the time frame. So if I'm with this young lady right here, and I test positive on the 1st, she's not notified until the 4th. Why does it start then? Because
Well, it does not. Actually, the last contact, so I'll use just Mrs. Agnew as my example. So let's just say that today she has symptoms and goes home, doesn't feel well, but she waits until the 6th to test, and we're not together. She thinks through that and she says, I had symptoms on the 4th. That's our day 0. The 5th is day 1. The 6th is day 2. If she gets her positive results on the 7th, okay, on Friday, the 7th, and contacts me and says, you're a close contact, you need to quarantine, that's my day 3. So I'd have to quarantine Friday as 3, Saturday day 4, and Sunday day 5, and I could come back to school as long as I'm asymptomatic on Monday. Okay?
I got you.
All right. Wanted to make sure. It's not the day she contacts me, it's the last day we were together.
That's what I
our
was
day
getting at.
0. That's correct.
And I think there was some confusion there, because I had that issue, you know what I mean, so.
If I'm with you today and I don't see you for 8 days, but.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha.
In the former scenario, we had students in that 14-day range that weren't notified until day 11. In the new scenario, they would not have to quarantine unless they have symptoms.
And it also depends on, you could be tested on a Monday. Sometimes test results weren't coming back until Thursday or Friday. So the turnaround of that test also comes in to play too, because you can't assume that someone is positive until we receive that notification. And if the parents don't share that notification, if they find out Thursday and don't share with us till Monday,
right.
or just assume that it gets faxed and the doctor's office is busy and overwhelmed and it doesn't get done, there's a whole bunch of things that can come into play when you're looking at that,
That's why
date.
it's really important that when the staff calls and asks parents questions or students questions, knowing the date of symptoms start. And if you are a positive case that's asymptomatic, your last day of exposure, right, falls on the day of testing. So we go with the day of testing when you're asymptomatic. Any other questions or thoughts?
I have a question.
Sure.
We're supposed to have kids' night out this Thursday, right?
Kids night out. It's Friday.
Friday, whatever day. We're still planning on having it with everything that's going on with COVID.
It's parents' night out, I think, on Friday.
Kids' night out, isn't it?
I'm not sure how they titled it, but it's where you can drop your kids off or something.
Is that PTG running that? I feel
I think so, yeah, I was
I'm not
gonna say, I
aware
can
of
show
that,
you.
so I apologize.
Yeah, I think
Sean.
PTG has one this month, and I think the senior class is doing one next month. That's why I was,
My PTG or your PTG?
I don't really have a
Kids' night out, Friday, January 4th, 5
I don't
p.m.
think
to
it's
9
my
p.m.
PTG.
Sayre High School cafeteria.
Did you say the 7th?
7,
It says 14th, sorry.
14.
The words I could, they were all squished together and I was reading it fast. It's the 14th, no, it's next Friday.
Valentine's Day.
that's in
January.
February.
Oh, January.
But the school district posted it to Facebook.
Okay.
That is senior class too. I'm goofing my, just like Pete, my February, and yes, that is a class, senior class.
So what I would say is just like everything else, I remember back to March of 2020 when everything shut down and everybody was in their homes and, you know, the senior class missed their prom and then we came together to put graduation together and it looked different than it did last year. We're going to have to take things as they come, as things change and the guidance changes and the information. So as that information comes in, those decisions will be made and we'll put that information out to parents. And I will say from my point of view and in my opinion, I have enjoyed seeing some of the traditions come back. Having homecoming this year and participating in the parade and attending the holiday concert in person, having those traditional events happening for our community has been good and enjoyable. So, but as the pandemic, you know, or the number of cases increases, we may have to decrease some of our or cancel some of our events. So we'll just take it case by case as the weeks come along and then make those decisions in the best interest of students. I don't want to move too far out into the future and not know what it might look like at that time. Part of the
I would say we
discussion.
review it next week.
Yes.
Today, the most cases of COVID since the pandemic started in our country.
Right, and I would say to you, and I'll make the comparison, and some might not like the analogy or the comparison that I'll make. It's kind of like a snow day that's being forecasted for Friday. I will not call a delay today or a day off on Friday until Thursday night or Friday morning, because the weathermen are not always correct, right? And those numbers are not always correct. The other component is I share that information, and Mr. Handrick and I have talked about it quite often, There's been over 300 students, and some of them on the list twice and 3 times, that have been identified as close contacts and been excluded from school and missed school events. And we have had less than 5 of those students that have been identified as close contacts and excluded from school turn up within that time frame as a positive case, right? And so that too comes back to the Test to Stay program. It will be interesting to watch to see how many of those close contacts, and we'll watch that number and that percentage as it comes forward, and we'll keep our eye on those numbers. And we'll be able to reduce the exclusions from school and have kids in person.
One difference is too.
This is Donnie.
Yes.
This isn't going to get all popular, but I mean, given the discussion and given that we were in this scenario early in the new year and it seemed to go fine, and given the period that we're in right now, why would we not go back to masking for a little while? I mean, it's up to us, right, as a school district to make that determination. The governor's given us that responsibility.
That's correct.
Would we not be putting ourselves and the school district in the best position possible to keep kids in the classroom, to have them wear masks? They seem to do fine in that period of time when we were required by the state. And we're just in a really, really volatile time right now. And even with the, we can still have the Test to Stay program, I mean, all of that. But if we can just even minimize some more quarantine issues, we're going to be better. So I'd like to put that on the table. I don't know where other board members are going to sit on this. It's obviously a very controversial topic. The only thing we know to help to try to, and it's not foolproof. There's all, I mean, everybody's going to have lots of different opinions. But I think it is at least proven that it does help some. And, should we be looking at that, something like that for the next 30 to 45 days?
I agree with you, Donnie.
So did you guys hear, did you hear that?
Mr. Shaw down there?
Yep.
Okay.
So, Donnie, are you making a motion or?
I mean, if you want me to take it that far, I'll make a motion as to, I think we should discuss, I mean, I hate to put it to that right way without having some level of discussion. I'm a lone voice, but I'm certainly convicted enough about it to say it's worthwhile to put on the table. And if I should take it to that point, I will, but I guess I prefer a little bit of discussion to see if there's any opposing voices and why.
And go through the safety plan again and look at that.
That's correct. And I would also share, as Mr. Petrini had shared his knowledge, right, between the 3 feet and the 6 feet. So if we mask at the high school level where we cannot get 6 feet, at the elementary building, every student desk is 6 feet or more because they have the available space. At the high school level, if you are masked, then the reduction of space between is 3 feet. Right now it's 6 feet to identify close contacts. If every student is required and staff members required to wear a mask, then it reduces that number from 6 feet to 3 feet.
And that would significantly reduce the number of close contacts at the high school level, correct?
Well, I can't confirm that right now simply because in the fall, from the start of the year until the first week of December, we had a lot of close contacts at the high school level and it was 3 feet. So just due to the enrollment in the class size in some of the classrooms, it's hard to get 3 feet or more.
Believe me, this is not the way I want to live my life, not the way anybody wants to live their life, but it's just, I mean, we're seeing the numbers skyrocket at the hospital. The number of quarantine, and we're doing everything we can to minimize that. And it's just pervasive, and I just think we should do what we can. And again, and maybe it's revisited every 2 weeks. I don't know what the right revisit period of time would be, but I just think it's an opportunity. If it had gone poorly before, we thought kids were, really having issues educationally, I would think differently. But I thought we went through that period of time pretty well with really few voices that were in opposition. And, you know, then obviously the game changed when the governor made his decision. So, anyway.
Other points of view, perspectives?
I agree with Mr. Sherpan.
Now, how many, what's our census like right now? I mean, since the holidays, have we had a big outbreak so far, or?
So we're on day 2, since we've been back yesterday and today. And the elementary school, there's been 8 positive cases over the holiday week. There's no close contacts because they were during the holiday week and didn't have any close contacts at the school building. And 3, I was thinking 2, but we had another one today, so it was 2 yesterday and 1 today, and 3 at the high school. So 11 with our 963 enrollment.
So far.
That's correct, for 2 days back. 12 hours, 6 hours each day, that's right.
Do we have a numbers thing or a percentage thing if we have enough positive cases to go remote?
That's correct. The state now requires at 5%, so Mrs. Morrell would have to have within a week 25. Mr. Handrick, your 5% is?
It's a little less than that. I think it's 23
or
or
2?
4 or
Okay.
3.
23.
So that's state required.
Correct, that still comes from the state level. That's the recommendation. The recommendation is for a school to move to virtual learning for a period of time if they hit 5%. It's not a requirement. It's not the insurance papers that we had to do last year that we signed off and I brought to the board. This year it's the recommendation at 5%.
And a minimum closed for 2 days?
We don't want to go virtual. I mean,
That's correct.
We clearly want to have the kids in the class.
I totally agree with that. We want in-person
Is
instruction.
there a minimum and a maximum, Dr. Jill, on that?
No, they have not given, they just said 5% is their recommended number. If you hit 5%, you should highly consider remote learning. That's correct.
So I would just add at Snyder, there are a few opportunities for kids to come closer together. For example, in some of the instructional opportunities that we have. So for the majority of the time, we are 6 feet apart, but if the masking would come in, maybe there could be a caveat if it was up to the board that when they are that close together, would they only mask at that time? So then they would not, that would reduce the close contacts at Snyder when we're less than those during some parts of the instructional day. Not the majority, but just there are.
When you do small group
there are
instruction,
times,
doing
absolutely.
interventions,
Correct.
guided reading.
Correct. Yep.
So far, what has been the percentage, Mrs. Morrell and Mr. Handrick, as far as kids being masked when they come in? Is it like a 50-50, you know, just guesstimating, you know, is it 60-40? What? Or is it 0 to?
I'd say
Maybe 20%.
10% maybe wear a mask, 90 don't. The majority of them don't.
And at the high school, I would say it's probably under 25%, and most of those kids would be older kids. The junior high kids, nope, don't want to wear them. And I even have some parents who've asked me to remind little Johnny, hey, put it on. You know, so that's, but guesstimate, Ron.
I guess a guesstimate.
I mean, in my rationale is everything we talked about previously, that we were talking about what we don't want to lose, all these opportunities that we want to maintain, and these events we want to hold. I just want to put us in the best position to do that. That's all, because it's all a level of uncertainty. We don't know. We you know, the percentage, you know, of cases in the past is not a great predictor of percentage of cases in the future, given the variants. Bradford County is not getting anywhere as it relates to vaccination rates. I mean, we're just in this situation where it just feels like it's a tough call, but if we can do something to help minimize to any degree the number of cases, I just think that's where we are. So, or that's the way I'm thinking anyway.
You know, my opinion, if the state's not going to make it a requirement, why should we The public here is definitely not in favor of it. The vast majority. It's not gonna go over well. And, there's no requirement. I don't see why we should make our own requirement. We followed the state guidelines last time. Let's follow them again.
I agree. We're not medical professionals. I think we should follow the guidance of the state.
So as I look out and I see, not to put you guys on the spot, but I see staff, in our audience, and most of them are wearing masks and some of them aren't. And what do you guys think?
I think if a parent wants their child to wear a mask, they'll send them in with a mask. If they don't, that's their choice. That's just my opinion.
So I'm kind of with you on that. I'm torn. As Mr. Skirpon's saying, I think we have a due diligence to do everything we possibly can to safely keep our kids in school. But personally, I'm kind of with you. It's choice, right? And it's
Staff-wise, Mr. Quattrini, sorry to interrupt. You took a breath though. So,
yeah, sorry.
I would say probably it's the exact opposite. I would say it's close to 80 to 90% of our staff are wearing masks.
Still wearing PPEs?
In most locations. There are times where they'll take them off, but for the majority of the day.
That's their choice, right? And
Correct.
that's what it comes down to, you know what I mean? And I have kids that sometimes come to school with their masks on, and I think one of them may or may not, but.
I'm not telling.
He leaves the truck with one, but anyway, and so sometimes they personally feel skittish and they'll wear one, and then sometimes they feel okay and they don't, and I'm kind of, the state's given us that ability to, so that's kind of where I'm leaning, Donnie. But I do understand that we have this due diligence to keep our kids safe and keep them here, so I'm torn.
And without the mask, if they're putting more people at risk, why do that?
And again, I'm a single voice, and I recognize that, but I wanted to put it on the table. My only response to the leave it to the parents, which, believe me, I would like to be able to always call the shots for my kids as well in that regard, as specifically when they're at an age that we are clearly guiding and leading them. But this isn't just about our kids. Right? That's why we as a school district have to look at this differently. It's not about individual families protecting their children. It's about protecting others who want to be protected as well. And that's our responsibility. That's where it's a tough responsibility. And then I lean more toward the healthcare experience and the fact that in a healthcare setting, everybody must be masked. So this medical debate is not really a medical debate. I mean, it is the medical position is pretty clear. Masking helps. Now, is it foolproof? No, that's also understood. But masking helps, and that's the only reason I put it on the table. So I'm a team player. It is we're a team here, and if the majority don't believe that we should move in that direction, then that's what we need to look with as an organization. I'm good.
I'd like to make one clarification. The state didn't say no mask. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that the Secretary of Health cannot make the mask mandate.
He already had stopped it before that court case came to fruition, so it was already done on that certain date, so.
The state recommended, right? The Secretary of Health and the state of Pennsylvania recommended masks. And then it went to court, and the court said her mandate was illegal. Not that the state guidance doesn't suggest masks, like Donnie's saying. A court overruled. They're two different things.
They are two different things, but the governor got rid of the mask mandate before the court ruled that the Secretary of Health could not make a mask mandate. So he already stopped it, and the state already.
He said he was going to do it in January.
Right, January, next week,
7th.
2 weeks, whatever it was, but they already said, hey, we're going to stop it anyway.
But the medical professionals, the Secretary of Health, Department of Health, that department thinks we should wear masks.
Well, they did
got
at that
overruled by a court, so they have to follow the rule. I just want to make that clarification.
And the court isn't medical experts either, right? They just make that decision, so you're right, Nate.
Well, yes and no on that.
They made a legal
They just
decision
said that
about.
they don't have the legal, they can't do it.
They made a
Right,
legal
well, that's it. They
decision.
The
were
governor
saying that.
already said we're dropping the mask mandate this month, and before that happened, they're just saying the legality of the previous mandate was wrong. So,
That she doesn't have the authority to do it,
Exactly,
all
yeah.
it said.
right.
So I think my thoughts on this kind of come back to, you know, where we've been over the past 2 years when we had the mask mandates. You know, we all thought it was a little bit silly that people had to wear masks all day while they were in the school setting, but then they walk out the doors and take their masks off and then don't have masks on for the next, 18 hours. And then as they're standing out in our, driveways and parking lots, they're like this, and then when they walk in the door, they put the mask on, or they put the mask on in a lot of cases, but so I would agree with you if there was like a blanket statement where it was supposed to happen everywhere, but, our close contacts through the last almost 2 years have kind of given us information as such that even now, less than 5 out of 300 this year in situations that have been masked and unmasked. That's, if it is 5, it's a little over 1% of the close contacts. And I don't think it is 5. So, it's a risk. But to, what Mrs. Lamana said, I think it's personal choice. And, as pandemic coordinator, I'm wearing my mask, and when I go out in the hallways and in the building, I wear my mask just in case there's kids that maybe think that, somebody might tell them they shouldn't wear a mask. But, I think that's got to be personal choice at this point. I don't know how much it will help. It would help a little bit if everybody was masked in the sense of determining the number of close contacts. It would theoretically go down a little in the high school, but I don't think we can say that it would go down significantly.
I also want to say that I work in this high school. I see the kids all day long when they were required to wear masks. Most masks were down here. Tons of kids did not have masks on. You'd see them in the home, to put your mask on, and then you get attitude because you told them to put a mask on. I would say maybe 50% of them kept a mask up and wore it. And is there any way to make them do that? There really isn't. You can tell them until you're blue in the face and they're not going to listen to you anyway.
And that might be why our numbers really haven't changed all that much.
I don't know how it is in the elementary school, but high school kids don't want to wear them.
But isn't it our responsibility to teach them that if they're taught a rule, they need to follow it, just like
Well, that's a
anything else in
great
school?
idea, Deb, but you don't know the kids that we're dealing with.
Oh, trust me, I do, but it's still the fact. If
You
we
can
don't,
tell them
if we
and
don't
teach
keep
them
telling them
that
that,
they're not going to do it if they don't want to. And what do we do?
I think
to
that
them?
creates more problems with our kids if we let go and say, yep, go ahead, do what you want, I'm not gonna fight with you. I don't think that's teaching them anything.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But what happens to them when they're in the hallway and don't have a mask on? What do we do to them? What course of action do we have?
Just to tell them to keep putting it on.
And I'm telling you, we keep doing that and doing that and doing that. If they don't want to wear it, they don't wear it.
It's just like bad behavior.
As soon as
You
they
keep
walk
telling
away
them.
from you, they're pulling it back down. You say, well, put your mask up, okay. As soon as they're out of sight, it's right back down. I see it every day when we have this.
I know. We still do on the buses because it's federal mandate. And yet every day we go through it. Well, I don't have to wear it, I don't wear it in school. No, you have to wear it on transportation.
Yeah, but you have a small amount of kids that you're dealing with. You have kids walking the halls all day long.
There are a lot
Seriously.
more close contact on those buses than they are in the school, because they're
They are,
jam
and I
packed.
can see them where I'm on the bus.
Making this
I
done
go to
fast.
the school.
Yeah, I know, Donnie, we can,
Whole different discussion. Hey, it was just highlighted. It's interesting, right? I mean, our kids can't ride on a bus without a mask on. So this isn't, this decision, right, isn't about the medical reason. I mean, there are really several more factors. And again, it just gets down to, is there an opportunity to put our students in the best position possible? I think we've discussed it enough. I think the opinions are very, which is expected. And that's, I just wanted to put it on the table because I thought it was worth a healthy discussion and we can have that.
appreciate that, Donnie. Did you have something to add, Mr. Shaw?
If we think realistically, in the last couple of years when we had athletics, kids weren't wearing them properly, what were the numbers compared to now? Everything else, the people in the stands, whatever. So no matter what you do, you're right or you're wrong, depending on what view you're at. So whatever, can we do it every 2 weeks? If our numbers increase, then we gotta go to it rather than not. I mean, that's something that, rather than right now, the numbers aren't astronomical, but in a week from now could be. So that means in 2 weeks, maybe you have to do that.
And
Just a thought.
that could be the thought, right? I mean, right now, our numbers aren't too bad, and we don't have to do anything, but if they get worse, then maybe you'll have to take some action.
If I could just say what we see at school, we've kind of relaxed our attendance. So if your child is symptomatic, please keep them home. That will cut down on the number of close contacts. And, you know, please, if you're concerned about attendance, please call, talk with me, talk with Mr. Handrick. We'll be glad to know that that's why we're keeping your child home. And if they're vaccinated, and you choose to share that with the school, that also comes into play with whether they're a close contact or not, depending on whether they're symptomatic. So please think about, even though it is HIPAA and health information, if you share that, it makes contact tracing easier, knowing that step going in as well. So even though it's health, if you choose to share it, that's appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for that. That's a good point. So, I mean, and now, just not to put you on the spot, but the diocese, you guys are still masking, right? I mean, it's,
Yes.
they've,
Full-time masks.
all-time masks, yeah.
And
Any other discussion?
just as far as the numbers go at the high school, at least, we will have more cases. I think we already have more cases for 21-22 than we did for 2021 before Omicron. Did I see that right?
What was that?
Omicron.
Say that again, Dayton.
We will have, if we haven't surpassed 2021 already in number of cases, we will in the 21-22 school year. And half of that year has been with wearing masks. It is a battle. It is a reminder. It's you know, and I find myself, I dart out of my office and I'm halfway down the hall and I'm like, gotta run back and get a mask. But it's, I don't know. I just thought I'd share those numbers.
No matter what you do.
Thank you. All right.
So Donnie, with opening this discussion, I think what we need to do too is to look at our numbers, right? So Dayton is sharing about where the numbers sit right now. And so I think what I want to do is pull that information for the board to take a look at from last year and this year, maybe the months and how they were different coming off of a holiday break versus coming off of summer and those variations. So we'll take a look at those numbers. We have the charts from last year and this year, and I can pull that data and have that available.
Yeah, for our next meeting?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Or if those numbers climb faster before that meeting.
Yeah, right.
Dr. Mills, the other things we should consider is we did a couple different things last year, like after Thanksgiving, where we went virtual for a short period of time. There were some other things that we did rather than just wearing masks. So I think we would need to, you know, maybe put an asterisk on those months that this isn't, we're not comparing apples to apples.
Because we went virtual right after Christmas too, correct?
Right before Christmas.
Right before.
Well, we went
Right around.
before Christmas because we got the 4 feet of snow on Thursday before Christmas.
COVID.
So it wasn't really necessarily COVID related. We were out on 2 snow days and then we couldn't get kids to school safely due to the crosswalks and corner areas. And so we went virtual right before Christmas due to that snow that flew in, so. But I'll go back through my notes. I have all of those, so I'll make sure that I put the information
We
correct.
did go virtual right after Thanksgiving.
I think Snyder was only virtual 3 or 4 days, because we did that one day in October, so
I'll pull the data. I'll have it, I'll put it together.
When is the next board meeting scheduled?
Tuesday, the 18th, 2 weeks from tonight. That's correct.
So what do you do in the meantime if something truly breaks out? That's why I thought maybe you might make a decision if to go to it, if need to tonight, rather than 2 weeks from now, and now you'll be in the same boat as you are tonight. I'm just talking out loud.
No, that's okay. That's a good question to ask. So a board meeting can be called, an emergency board meeting can be called with 24 hours notice. Public notification on our website and Facebook page will give us that ability to do that. So if we come to school tomorrow and have an outbreak of numbers, we could call a meeting in 24 more hours. So we would just have to put an agenda together and put public notice out to the community. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see you had committee meetings.
I did, and I put that in my board report, and so I just wanted to share again with the committees that we really want to promote community involvement in our committee meetings, and so the public relations specialist is putting together a little description of every committee that we have as a board committee, and we're going to put it on our website and share that information publicly to let people know what those committees work on and what the dates and the times and the locations of the meetings are, so that if anybody would like to attend and participate, we would welcome their voice. Thank you.
Perfect. So with that, any other discussion? Recommend adjournment? Got a motion, got a second? Second. All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Skirpon.